Today on Parish Profiles, we'll learn about a rural Kings County parish that reaches out with a ministry based on a simple invitation to serve God in the community. Then we'll visit Southeast Bakersfield, and a parish that prides itself on its commitment to promoting life and family. All this coming up on Parish Profiles. The needs of Catholic families in and around the Kings County city of Hanford were well served for nearly 100 years by St. Brigid's Church, located in the center of town. Then in the 1950s, a second church was built near Hanford's rural boundary to support the now growing community. Today, Immaculate Heart of Mary, or IHM, is home to over 2,000 local families. Johnny Gastelo is a lifelong parishioner at IHM who knows the pulse of this diverse and committed congregation. Johnny, Immaculate Heart of Mary was a mission of St. Brigid's. In 1950 it became a parish. But for you, what's the most important part of that history?
My history in a parish, it goes back to the 70s with Father John Morton. It's when I got really involved in the church, even though I was a member of the church, but I wasn't really involved till then. But it was Father John Morton that really got me involved in working with the Hispanic people and working with the youth group. He saw the need in it and he said, this is why I need you. And he put my wife and I in charge of the youth group.
During the 70s, what did passage of amnesty, how did that change the parish?
There was a great change there in the parish because back then we only celebrated one Mass because it barely filled up the church for that one Mass. And there was people that were afraid of coming to church because they were afraid of being picked up by the immigration. So actually they were pretty underground, people that they were afraid to come out in the open. But after amnesty, you know, it kind of opened the doors so that they could bring their families from Mexico. And of course, now the community begins to grow. And now they start to come to church and the community in our church began to grow. And it got so big that we had to open, celebrate other Masses besides that one.
Fast forward to the present, what does Immaculate Heart of Mary look like now? How has it grown?
Well, it's grown so much that it's brought so many different cultures into the family of our parish. Back then, it was just the Anglo people, the Portuguese people, and of course later the Hispanic people started coming in and started growing. Now we got Filipinos, people that even people of color that are joining our group, our church. They're coming and. We got some Hmong members in our church, and also, if you really think about it, how many different cultures we have here, it's quite a few cultures.
What can you tell us about the Azorean community, which we think is a big part of Hanford?
It is a big part because they brought so much into the dairy industry. The Portuguese people came from the Azores, they brought their faith with them because they're all Catholics, and of course they brought their dairies and opened up not only the dairies but also open jobs for people that go to work for them. So they helped the community a lot and is still helping the community a lot.
Speaking of helping the community, Bishop Ochoa came to bless the expansion of the parish. Tell us what that was like and what's going on with those buildings now.
That was such a beautiful experience, to see Bishop come over and to bless our new facilities. a facility because we needed it and needed to grow. And of course, Bishop came over and not only the Aztecs dancers that came and performed in front of him, which he was very happy to see, and all of us, embraced that very much.
Now, what was it that was, you needed new facilities? What kind of facilities did you establish?
Well, there were portable units that were brought in by Father Mike, and he saw the need because of the growth of our church, and we were running out of room in the classrooms. So we were kind of overlapping groups over groups, so we had to do something, and Father thought of this idea. It was his idea, and it worked out fine because now we got room for everyone.
What kind of people are using those facilities? I guess it's the St. John 23rd and St. John Paul II rooms.
Yes, and those rooms are being used on a daily basis. Quite a few groups are using it. It goes from children to adults to teenagers, that are using those facilities right now.
St. Brigid's had once been the mother of your parish, but now I think you've got almost a sister-sister relationship going on.
Yes, we do. We started this relationship back when St. Brigid's wanted to start a Spanish Mass, and they didn't have, they needed help, so they asked us if we could help. So some of our members went up there to get them off the ground, to help them to start. And some of our members also moved over there. And still we share some of the readers that go from here and do some of the readings over there. So it's a continuous relationship.
Johnny, in conclusion, I know you and your wife really love this parish. What would you like to say about what you are most proud of, Immaculate Heart of Mary?
There's so many things that I can say that I'm so proud of this church because I've been a member of this church for such a long time. The diversity of the church with so many different cultures, such a beautiful church, and our priests, of course. I loved every priest that we've had, and I love working with them. They're such unique priests. Without a priest, we don't have nothing.
Thank you very much, Johnny, for sharing your love for your parish, and we hope that others will find in their parish the same kind of love that Johnny has for his. At Hanford's Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, an intentional focus is placed on creating unique worship environments throughout the liturgical year. Director of Music, Kevin Jonas, tells us about this special ministry and the ways parishioners are invited to participate. Kevin, you've been at Immaculate Heart of Mary for the past 2 years, but could you tell us how this commitment to pastoral ministry began?
Well, first of all, it's very exciting to be here today. I am very passionate about ministry. I love being involved in all the different things that I do. And in preparing for this talk today, I reminded myself of how this all began for me. And I remembered back to August of 1969, and I was a wee lad of 10 years old. And my mom used to drop me off at the rectory in Sanger, at our home parish in Sanger. And I would spend Saturday helping out the pastor, who at the time was Father Harry Eggert, who was a very, very close family friend of ours. And so I would basically do whatever needed to be done. One Saturday in particular, he was busy doing things. And so he said, you know what, why don't you go upstairs? He knew that I played the piano. And he says, why don't you go upstairs and busy yourself, play the organ for a little while and basically, get out of my hair for a bit. So I went upstairs and, as my family could attest, I used to spend hours on the piano bench playing. And so I went up to the choir loft and started playing the organ, and he came up probably an hour or so later and he said, you're on for Mass tonight.
No.
And I was about 10 years old, and that was the first, they had just begun the Saturday Vigil Masses, and I played for that Mass that evening, shaking like a leaf, scared to death. But, and again, as I was thinking about it, that was the invitation. That was the invitation to be involved in ministry, even at a young age of 10 years old.
Now, how important has this invitation motif been for you in your ministry?
It's almost more important to be the invitor than to be involved in any of one of the many liturgical ministries. I love working in music. I love working in liturgy. I love working in art and environment. But I can remember, stages and things that have happened over the past almost 40 years now, where people's lives have changed because we have interacted with each other.
Can you give us some examples of certain settings where there's been an invitation, there's been a reception, and there's been a surprise or two in the process?
I can remember just a couple of years ago, I was at a parish in Oakhurst, and I had occasion to work with commissions, art and environment commissions, and one thing and another, and we used to do the dutiful sitting down and having meetings and having, pastries and all that kind of stuff and agendas, and it wasn't really doing anything. And so I went to the pastor at the time, Father Mike, and said, this isn't really working for me. What I'd like to do is to take on the design of the environment for the parish. And the parish in Oakhurst was comprised of 3 churches. So what was done in one church had to be done in 2 other churches as well, so we needed a lot of help. And then, put out a call to the people in the assembly and invite them to take part in this. And so the first time we did this was Christmas. And I had probably 30 or 40 people show up, which was exciting in and of itself. I didn't know what any of the capabilities were of any of these people, but it was just exciting to have the people there. There was Christmas music going on. I had apple cider, and things to eat and whatever. And everybody was excited to be there because I had invited them to come and help. And I didn't know how they were going to help, but I just knew that by being there, they wanted to be there and they had something to offer. There was one lady in particular who I think just because of our personalities, we were drawn together. And I said to her, Dee, I'd like you to design the creche. And I showed her the stable pieces and the different manger scene pieces. And there was a bunch of hay and a bunch of fabric and other things that could be used for it. And she says, well, what shall I do? And I said, be creative and be an artist. And a couple of hours later, she came over to me because I was busy with a lot of other people in the church in different areas of the church. And so she came to me a couple hours later and she said, can you come and look and see if you like what I did? And I went and I stood in front of the creche and I started crying. I was just completely overtaken with the beauty of what I saw. And she was so much in love with being there. And she was so thankful for being invited. And she had created this gorgeous, gorgeous thing. And it's a manger scene that I remember to this day.
I want to thank you for introducing us, Kevin, to the principle of invitation in ministry. Next on Parish Profiles, we'll see how a growing parish in southeast Bakersfield directs its energies towards strong family life, youth, and young adult ministries.